1, 2, 3. Alright. So this is an entirely new government model because no real government model has been made or created basically since Roman times. There's been a few, but not many. So let me start. Please, if you're going to read this document, make sure you have ample time to read it. Read it all. And it is never before conceived government model, so open your mind. Now, this is important. Take this first quote seriously and do as it says, so you can allow the possibility of this document to come to fruition in your mind. So you ready? Take a breath. Now, the only crisis we face as a species is ignorance and cognitive dissonance. We know what ignorance is, but cognitive dissonance is where someone tells you a truth and it makes your lie feel so uncomfortable that you'll rationalize and do whatever to make yourself feel comfortable again, which is what happens with a lot of zealous religious people. They become cognitive dissonant to the point where you present them with facts, they will still argue without doubt. And it says, turn your fear of the unknown into the realm of possibility, which is the greatest fear and the best feeling. So you just got to change your perspective. This is uncensored. We give the land back to the traditional owners and ask for a defence force called the Rainbow Brigade as treaty and asylum. Aboriginal status can be removed by a group of elders that then Aboriginal is no longer free to walk the land. Aboriginals with status can walk the land freely and must be kind and respectful, or their status will be revoked till they show they have grown. So basically we're giving the land back to them, but the elder councils that govern the communities will decide if an Aboriginal, if they identify as Aboriginal, if they have Aboriginal status, which is, say there's a fruit tree in your yard, and an Aboriginal with status can walk up, pick that fruit and eat it. But if you're home, because of the kindness and respect, they should knock on your door and ask for the fruit because it's in your yard. But if you're not home, they can just pick that fruit. They're free to walk the land. It's theirs again. Alright? Now, the Rainbow Brigade is a defence force composed of people seeking citizenship, and at the end of their service, they'll have all the benefits of a citizen. This service includes education, working for 2 years, and 1 year training in unit cohesion, military tactics, and weapons training. So basically, a really 1 year long intense rundown on all martial art dynamics and fighting and working together and stuff. Alright? For the last this service includes blah blah blah. For the last year they are in service, they are required to help build homes, and by doing so build their own home with the help of other people in service. So in your 3rd year you're building your own home in the community you want. Education is managed out of work and training hours. So you've got to basically do work, the service for the Defence Force, as well as studying, if you choose to study on the weekends. Those fluent in English begin to study in their chosen field for a master's degree, and if they can't speak English, they'll be taught how to speak English and allowed to complete a bachelor's degree. However, they can stay in education to get a master's degree or even a PhD after their service. Suggestion. Now, this is just a suggestion. This isn't in the actual document. All currency is to be handed into the banks. They then transfer and create your account within the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve will be the only bank. We will need to use digital currency to integrate with the rest of the world, but real currency is going to become finite. And this quote is why I say this. If the top 5 wealthiest people in Australia withdrew their money in currency, there would be no currency left for the rest of us. So realistically, and if we just produce more money, it's going to be worth less and things are going to cost more. That's inflation. So we need to get rid of the fictional currency, switch to a digital currency with a centralized bank. And the encryption needs to be above board, like the best encryption on the planet, to the point where the person who wrote the encryption, or the algorithm for the encryption, dies in the end, so they can't ever give off the secret. Only like this can we do neurochips and stuff like that without them getting hacked and making you jump off a building. Alright, so the Rainbow Brigade under treaty can only be allowed to defend and provide emergency aid. They cannot attack another country without provocation. That includes invading Australia. So we can only defend and provide emergency aid. If there's a tsunami, most of our army or our defence force will go to that country and try and help out, rebuild that country, just emergencies. And defence. So if you come to our country and you start shit, then we're going to get physical. But otherwise, we're just well trained and well disciplined. The first 12 months the Rainbow Brigade should be without weapons, but after they move on to unit cohesion, military tactics, and combat training. So the first year, you don't actually train with any weapons. Year 2 and sometimes year 3, depending on what you want, you can learn like airsoft, how to shoot rifles, how to clean guns, all different types of things. Refugees to earn citizenship must join the Rainbow Brigade for a minimum of 3 years. We should find out what that refugee did in a foreign country so we can then allocate them to the job best suited for their skills. So we use an interpreter, we find out what they did as a trade, and then we can, in this 3-year service they do, allocate them to that trade where it's needed. There's an emergency draft going to happen of all citizens to participate in the Rainbow Brigade for a minimum of 3 years. This is going to stagger over 3 years. So 1/3 of the population that's eligible will go into the Defence Force in the first year. The second third of people will go in the second year, while the first year becomes second years, and the third people will go in the third year, meaning the first year will be in its third year. So we can basically for the first 3 years, for the first 6 years, change the foundation of Australia, terraform everything, just to maximise habitability, so we can allow every culture, if we're allowed asylum by the indigenous people, to come, migrate to Australia. And we can make Australia a giant, thriving metropolis, while the rest of the world is owned by First Nations people again. And they'll watch the land regrow and tend to it, which means we'll get healthier air, better weather effects, less hot weather and less cold weather. Like, it's fundamental that we get our trees back, basically, our lungs. Okay, conscription at the age of 18 to serve minimum 3 years. So as soon as you turn 18, you've got to spend 3 years in the Rainbow Brigade. Other country citizens can earn citizenship by serving 3 years. We should find out what that immigrant did in a foreign country. Yep. The jobs of tomorrow will be filled with a continuous flow of immigration and birth. Think about that. So we have a complete workforce that's free, and you get all these bonuses with completing those 3 years. Alright? The job, and this is regular employee, logistics, civil engineering, supply management, community structuring, transport, emergency services, etc. Every citizen that stays in the Rainbow Brigade for longer than 3 years has the option to enter the Violet Captains Tournament. The Violet Captains Tournament should have the following categories covered and more to compete for votes from citizens: intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, combat, so we have them fight each other, talent contest, speech assertion, fitness contest, rally call. So if you get it's like a 15-second ad on TV where they just say their best quote or whatever they can think of best to say in that 15. It's a sound bit, and we just play that as an ad in radios and TV and that, and then people form their opinions based on all these things. The winner of the tournament is declared the Violet Captain of the country. If the citizens think the Violet Captain is unjust or corrupt, the citizens can petition the Rainbow Brigade to remove them and hold another Violet Captains Tournament. If one citizen votes over the half needed of the population, then the current Violet Captain is removed straight away. Communities should self-govern with the help of the Rainbow Brigade. More on this to come. Don't worry about this, there's a lot more to come. Remove money, but keep trade, economy and currency through a digital central bank. Anyone under 18 or over 60 is to be first in the line. Anyone aged 19 to 59 has to go to the back of the line. At age 18 on your birthday, you are given 3 wishes. If they can be granted, they will be by the Rainbow Brigade. And they have to last all the way to 60, so the first 18 years of a citizen's life should be spent on working on what they want. The line that I just talked about is in reference to the line to get something you want. Like, say they invent a new computer or a new phone. Well, if you're 19 to 59, you have to go to the back of the line and wait. But if you're under 18 or over 60, you can go to the front of the line, because the young and the elderly, they're on fucking a different level, the way they enjoy things. So us 19 to 59 year olds, we should wear the burden of having to go. If we just rock up to the place to get it, we should go to the back of the line, whereas the children and the elderly should go to the front of the line. If you can fathom it, the new currency would be, this is when we actually have complete Walla Rouge, which is an entire planet Kardashev scale of 1. If you can fathom it, the new currency would be love, and it would be our communal love that would sustain us into the far future. Now, Plato. Good people don't need law, bad people won't follow it. That basically means all law, all man's law is irrelevant. Because people just, it's not going to work. The Rainbow Brigade must govern the country on nature's laws as she never breaks her own. That's from Da Vinci. What are the little 7 laws of nature? I'm going to skip over this. You can get the link to this document and read through these if you want. But these are basically the 7 laws of nature that the universe acts by. And only mankind, with its sentience, has proven it can break these laws of nature. So, if you breach, hang on, we'll go to the bottom of them. The Rainbow Brigade must reprimand any member thought to have breached the 7 laws with a unique tattoo. I think brand, but a lot of people said that was inhumane, so I said tattoo. Once you have a tattoo, you are exiled from your current community with charges recorded. They'll have a hard time finding a home because they have to try and get into another community while the community knows what they did. If the person with the tattoo reoffends, so if they break any of the other 7 laws again, they are handed over to the Reapers for execution. Dead serious. We should, however, ask them before they go what tree they would like planted on their grave so that the bad turns into good. If they refuse to answer, then we will plant a fruit tree. This would eliminate prison. Prison would be gone. Prison is just the only thing. Prison and tourism is the only things we're going to be left with when the Lima Declaration in 1976 is finished with Australia. Prison and tourism. That's it. All that production, all that manufacturing, all that gone to third world countries. So if we eliminate prison, the Lima Declaration, get rid of that, we can start working on manufacturing and shit again. Alright, so this is a tattoo that you get on your neck. Now, pedophiles don't get a second chance. Touch a child once and it's off with your head. We should have asked them before they go, what tree they would like. Those who run from death stood still in life. So if you fear these changes, you say death is too extreme, then I say you stand too still. Every effort must be for the benefit of the country and fellow citizens as well as the First Nations people. That is important because it's not only the country, it's not only the citizens, but it's the First Nations peoples who actually own the land now because we give it back to them, remember, under treaty and asylum. Now, children of citizens should be allowed to pursue their dream professions or trades. When a child of a citizen elects a profession, then their citizen parent should make every effort to contact the Rainbow Brigade in that field, and with that parent citizen, the child can learn what interests them. So, remember when you were a kid and you said, I want to be a veterinarian when I grow up? Well, your dad or your mum will take you to that, in the area, that section of the Rainbow Brigade that works in veterinary school, and they will start getting you to, brush down dogs and stuff like that and start to treat animals until you get a proper education in it. You actually get work experience from a young age. Only one parent should be drafted into the Rainbow Brigade, and during their time in the Defence Force, their children are entitled to the full benefits of a child of a citizen, which comes on later. If there is only one parent taking care of a child and they have to be drafted, then a relative should be found. If one cannot be found, then if the child is under 17, the parent is granted temporary citizenship until their child reaches 18. Then the parent should be drafted. So children will always have a parent, but if they're over 18, then your parents have to be drafted. Everyone's got to do the 3 years of service, even me. Medicine or drugs should never be forced on someone unwilling. It should only be used on consenting adults, because whether it's beneficial or harmful depends on whether you see it as a medicine or a drug. And because so many people see certain medicines we use for psychological trauma as drugs, they negatively impact us. But if we allow ourselves to see those illicit drugs as medicine, then they benefit us. Alright? Now, every person in the country should be allowed to have spirituality and should be allowed to express that spirituality as long as they don't cause harm. Because extremists in any religion is never a good thing. Any religion. If you're an extremist, you've gone too far. Community integration by the Rainbow Brigade must support a community-based defence force, and all fouls committed within the community should be handled by the local community, not the defence force, unless it's the job of a Reaper. The medicine or drugs people use every day to cope with psychological damage should be made as healthy as possible and distributed freely, and a safe place to use that medicine should be made available. This is for things like addicted people. They can go and get the pure heroin from the chemist, whack up in a safe injecting room, make sure they're right, they're not going to overdose, and then they can go home. And you find they've got it over in the Netherlands and that when the chase of getting the drug is gone, you actually lose your want of the drug. So if we eliminate the chase, we eliminate addiction to those substances. Now, once a citizen has gained, one of the houses that the Rainbow Brigade has built must be made available for the new citizen within a community of their choosing, should they have the choice, because sometimes you just got to go where you got to go and make home where it is. Clean food, clean water must be made available to all people within the country, and free healthcare to all citizens in the country and all citizens' children. These are the ranks of the Rainbow Brigade, the Defence Force. At their induction into the Rainbow Brigade, a person who speaks English, this is about the master's degree and the bachelor's degree again. Now you've got Red Cadets. The Red Cadets are people joining the Rainbow Brigade who are designated for 12 months, so 12 months they're a Red Cadet, and then they become Orange members. This is the lowest rank and has to do minor tasks in the country. They should also focus on martial arts, melee, and non-lethal weapons. So, like a stick with another stick bent across like that, sort of bent a bit. If, say, someone's breaking in next door to my place, and I ring up 2 members of my community, and they each ring up 2 members of their community, of our community, and then they each ring up 2 of them, within 15-20 minutes, the whole neighborhood will be there ready to grab that thief. And if we have those sticks with those cross sticks put on them, we can pin them without harming them. So we don't need a police force anymore. The community will become its own defense force, and the elders council will rule out the meat of the judgment. All right. So orange members. Orange members are what people in the Rainbow Brigade become in 12 months. They remain orange members until they have served 2 years. Then they become yellow members. During this time, they should be trained in unit cohesion, military tactics, and combat training. Basically military training, or SAS training, for the 2nd year. Yellow members are what people in the Rainbow Brigade become in 2 years. They remain yellow members until they finish off their 3 years. During this time, the brigade and the soldier should build a home in this time together. That's got to be corrected. Green member. Green member are what yellow members become after they have served there for 3 years and are continuing on with the Rainbow Brigade, if they want to continue service. If the green member shows leadership, a veteran may promote a green member into a blue officer. Green members are the group leaders in a squad, and this will be explained later on. After showing leadership, a veteran may promote a green member to a blue officer. The violet captain decides based on merit what blue officers become indigo veterans. A blue officer is the directive behind 144 members that should be called squads, and in these squads there are groups which are led by green members of 12 members. The blue officer decides who joins his squad from available candidates, and they must have served 4 years in the Rainbow Brigade. Alright, now this is uncensored. The Reaper stuff in that I want public, at least knowingly first, but then dusted away into the high security internet with the upgraded encryption, because the Reaper's job is to take pedophiles and double time offenders and eliminate them within the community without causing any suffering, pain or misery to anyone else. You know, like if someone's a pedophile, then we get people to, like the neighbours, we give them a heap of fireworks for one day. Then we organise the Reaper, we get all the evidence we can, as much evidence as we can. We get the Elders Council to agree on a punishment. If they say they're a pedophile, then the Reaper comes in while the neighbours are playing with fireworks with a Desert Eagle custom made and performs art, mate. And then we just cart the body out to the desert to bury it in the lake. Alright, Reapers are the executioners of double offenders and pedophiles. You nominate yourself as a Reaper when you have served at least 2 years. Then once accepted, you must spend 3 years reaping. So that's 5 years in total if you want to be a Reaper. Keep in mind, after 3 years, you're eligible for the Violet Captain's Sign. So you can also be a Reaper and a Violet Captain. This will be the prime of Reapers. So basically, the Reapers will choose a prime, or the Violet Captain most likely will choose a prime Reaper, and they'll use logistics to coordinate the Reapers. Then there's Razors. These are the opposite of Reapers. They work with people who have been branded to find them a new community, and branded should be tattooed, to find them a new community, to integrate them within that community. You can only become a Razor after 3 years in the Rainbow Brigade. So if you break one of the laws of nature, and you have to find a new community because you're exiled from your current one, the raisers are the people that try and find you that community, and if they can't, you get moved to the inland lake, which is like a security fence around it and stuff. I'll show you in a minute. Alright, so there's the raisers, and there's the prime of the raisers, then there's indigo veterans. The violet captain decides based on merit if a blue officer becomes an indigo veteran. The indigo veterans are the Rainbow Brigade's most talented officers. However, to become a veteran, you must have served at least 6 years in the Rainbow Brigade. Now, this is basically your is it the Premier of the state? Yeah, in Australia now it's the Premier of the state. Well, this is what we call grey captains. The 7 runners-up in the Violet Captains tournament are made grey captains. Grey captains oversee the other states and territories that the Violet Captain does not oversee. If 4 or more of the grey captains, because there's 7, find the Violet Captain unjust or corrupt, they can have them removed and a new tournament will begin. Grey captains are tasked with integrating high elder councils, we'll explain later on, within their state or territory and new business ventures and inventions. Violet captains. Violet captains decide on the tournament most worthy to lead the Rainbow Brigade. The Violet leader makes all major decisions for the country. However, if one more person over half votes, then they're out. The Violet captain, they are removed immediately, and the Indigo veterans and Grey captains handle the next Violet captains tournament. The Violet captain must also oversee a selected state or territory, as well as the country, and task the Grey captains with their designated state or territory, as well as integrate all states and territories into one country. Now we're going up a level. Ultraviolet captain. The Ultraviolet captain is decided in the Ultraviolet captains tournament, and when the civilians have voted based on a broad scope testing tournament, blah blah. The Violet captain makes all major decisions for the defense force. However, if one more person over half, blah blah. The Ultraviolet captain must oversee all countries within the Rainbow Brigade's control. So a Violet captain is in control of the country, Grey captains are in control of the states and territories, and Ultraviolet captains are the ones controlling all within the Rainbow Brigade, or Wallarouge. Now here's our community guidelines. This reggie's good. So elders. At 60 years old, most people qualify for elder council status, but they have to have the support of their community they wish to be an elder within. So you can be an arsehole elder and say, get off my fucking lawn, and then you won't become part of the elders council. But if you start helping kids, like get them a soccer ball to play a game, or some bloke can't find his keys and you help him, you know what I mean? Like, you do enough good deeds, you should be put on the elders council of your community. Now, this is what elders do. Elders are the backbone of the community. They are responsible for keeping food and beverage stocks high. So they are the ones that coordinate with the Rainbow Brigade, because the Rainbow Brigade will be working manufacturing and production right to the shops where the elders will have requests for food and beverage. They are also obliged to host community events, so they basically we've got to celebrate. Buddhists believe celebration is one of the few ways to unite the planet, so we need to celebrate. They run pharmacies, doctors and medicine. So right now there's a pharmacy maybe 200 meters away that is run by a corporation. But if the elders ran it, then it would be basically they'd be using, or utilizing I should say, the Rainbow Brigade to connect the dots in between getting the medicine from its natural state into its medicine state. They'll be responsible for that whole process, whereas the elders just have to distribute the pharmacy, doctors and medicine. Which is why, some people, when they get their education access, should choose to become doctors or pharmacists or whatever they want to be, They manage projects in their community like housing, parks, etc. If you have an issue at a park or your dog gets lost, then the elder council bring it up with you and they say what happened. If it's reasonable, someone left the gate open and you opened the door for your dog thinking the gate was closed and he got out, you don't deserve a punishment for that, mate. You don't deserve a punishment for that. Just bring the dog home, But if your dog attacks somebody, then immediately the elders council should be made aware of, and not the dog put down. The dog should be taken out bush where it can go pig hunting and stuff, where it can be its aggressive self, not just shot because it bit someone. I mean, that's so hurtful to the owner, especially if they love that animal. It's terrible. So, alright, a high council should be established per city or town, where one member from every community elder group is chosen to represent the community in the city or town on the High Council, and they would act as a mayor-like community integration. So the High Council would have one person that leads it that would be like the mayor of the city or town, and the High Council would be made up of elders from different communities contained within the city or town. Schools have to be maintained by the community members, tasked by the elders of their community, and should cover primary school and secondary school as well as universities. So yeah, elders got the hard work. From 19 onwards, a community member is considered an adult and may petition the elder council for vacancy in the suburb of their choice. Where you want to go. All adults should exchange contact details for their local community to quickly gather the community should there be an emergency. This is what I said about if I hear someone breaking in next door, I ring up 2 members of my community. They ring up 2 each of their community. Those 4 ring up 2 each. Those 8 ring up 2 each. Those 16 ring up 2 each. And before you know it, everybody's here ready to stop the thief. Best way, instead of a police force. Because we're becoming a police state. And the police don't even want to do that. They're being made to do that. So it's like we're being made to hate the people who hate doing their job because they're being made to. It's just so stupid. Alright. It's up to the Elders Council to pass judgment for any crimes, the worst punishment being exile with a tattoo and data recorded for the future, or execution. Executions are handled by the Reapers. Now, children, 0 to 18. Children should be sharing toys and reaching out to one another. So if you've got a kid next door and you've got a kid, then turn around on their birthday and say, hey, do you mind if my kid comes over for a bit and has a bit of cake? You know what I mean? Just be true blue about it. Be true blue with your kids. Teach your kids how to be a parent, and then that way they'll be a good parent for their kids to be good parents. You understand? Now, once a week, adults or parents should bring all their children to the local park so they can play together. So like a carnival almost, or a market or a show, but just for the community, once a week. Say a Saturday or a Sunday, whatever the Elders Council decides, and they put on like an event where the adults and parents bring all their kids to watch fireworks displays and laser shows and listen to music and just relax and eat food and have a good time. Once they've chosen their dream job, they're referred to the Rainbow Brigade for education. So yeah, like I said earlier, you want to be a veterinarian, you'll be referred to the Rainbow Brigade section that deals in that community area with veterinarianism. School remains, but must be overhauled so that life skills and relevant topics are the goals. Check out the song Don't Stay in School by Boy in a Band. That song really defines it. It perfectly defines how useless our current schooling is and how much it needs to change and how many people are dying because these changes aren't made. Every 8-year-old should be taught to meditate. The Dalai Lama said this would eliminate violence in one generation. This is true. When I learned Shotokan Karate, we were told to meditate before every session. We were made to meditate. And that taught us to not be violent and to only use what we learned in self-defense. Alright? Now, inventions. Now, this is where it starts getting different, people. Alright? First up, we have the gauze piston. Now, these here are actuators. Electrical triggers. Yeah, electrical triggers. These are magnets. This is a piston. But we hollow out the piston a bit because it doesn't need to handle combustion anymore, and we put magnets in to accelerate down, accelerate up to move the crankshaft. This would eliminate like 70% of the car, and the car could run infinitely on just a alternator, this piston, and a battery, and it would be faster than cars today too, and all emissions would be erased. Anyone can use this idea. Please, if you want to copyright it, make a mint out of it, but just give some of that money back to the community, please. This is the gyroroctor. So it has counter pushing thrusters, so they have thrusters on the side, and then the central capsule is 2 different types, and it's got its elevation thrusters as well. Now the capsules, right? These drones in a swarm will stop bushfires. The capsule can be A or B. A is a fan, and B is silver iodide, potassium iodide, and dry ice, solid carbon dioxide. So we push the smoke back over the fire, and we seed the clouds so they're heavier, so it rains on the fires. So this would stop bushfires. We could have SES members like go out with a swarm of algorithm programmed AI drones and just push the whole like storm cloud that's forming from the smoke back over the fire and then seed it so it puts out the fire. Very plausible. This next one, some people will doubt, but it's still true because of what I know about martial arts. This here is a kinetic energy training bag. If you know how to use your kinetic energy properly, you can channel kinetic energy from your foot into your waist, into your shoulder, into your hand, and you can punch someone around the kidney area and you can rupture their actual kidney because you channel that kinetic energy into them. So this here has a bell in the center of special resistant material, so it's meant to resist getting punched, and they have a bell for head, body, and legs, and every time you hit it, the bell's going to ring a little bit. But when you hear it ding, like the actual bell itself has been hit, that's when you've learnt how to use your kinetic energy. So this bag would basically improve everybody's martial arts, which could be dangerous. Have a box in the major cities that is very strong, and if you're in danger, you run inside one of these boxes, press the panic button. The panic button calls the local police and locks the door. Then the citizen in need of safety is safe until help arrives. This could be used by any innocent citizen who are in need of assistance. These panic rooms should populate every city and town. There needs to be a place where victims can find safety. Very important, especially in capital cities. Alright, now we're done inventions. We won't go through that because we'll go through that eventually. This is the topological map. Now, I've followed the old riverways and runways when Australia had a sea inland, and I've done, you can, when you check out the document, you can have a look closer in this image. There's rivers, roads, and railways that run along these river systems here. And the railways stop at the yellow line, which is the security fence. There's a town at the end of each railway, but the roads go into the major city in here. And there's 7 grave sites around the inland lake that are going to be one each for each natural law that the person has broken to cause execution. Like for pedophilia, it's a break in the law of attraction. So they get buried in that certain area, and then their body promotes verdancy and growth with burying a tree on them. So we could turn the desert, we could make Australia like 60% inhabitable. And then we could have like every population on the planet live here while the First Nations people return the Earth to its original state. All explained here. Now the spine of the community. This was an idea I was given to by a friend, and I just elaborated on it for him because I already had the idea in the back of my head. Now it's called the 7th element. This is sort of how the squads and the groups work within the Rainbow Brigade. So 7th element, pillars of strength. It's got, this is what we start with basically before we actually achieve Prime Minister. So you got all this, Treasury Manager, yeah, you can read all this. Bushmen are important because they, instead of going to the psych ward, say you're mentally ill and you don't want to go to the psych ward, well, a bushman will take you out to the bush with other bushmen and other mentally ill patients, and you'll have a camping session where you'll go fishing, you'll do some making fires, learn how to make fire, you'll do some shelter construction, you know, go out on a houseboat, just relax out in the country, you know, allow yourself to become mentally well. You don't need forced medicine to make people mentally well. You need a mentally well environment for them to sustain on, which is the bush. Alright. Now, food and beverage officers, heart and soul, blue clover, we'll go through all this, but this is the local office. The main focus of the 7th element is security, safety, and support. But we want to extend into all trades. All trades, including sparkies, chippies, fucking brickies, and whatever the fuck they're called. So, local officers must have at least 3 members to start a local office. You need at least 3 members. But they can branch up to 144. But the key roles must be delegated for structure. Blue clovers must document all information they collect regarding clients and then help the worker to better take care of the client. But they are also to report the local leader should any of the workers who mistreat clients. So every single thing that happens between you, if you're a worker and your client, the work client of 7th element, has to be documented and recorded. Each document must be taken a picture of or photographed. When we meet them, we take a picture of them. We document everything. So when that person, if they do become deranged or mentally ill, we know where they're coming from. You know what I mean? We have all the evidence there to back up what we're saying. Alright? Now, all security support workers must have basic training in psychology, chemistry, defense, and first aid. That sounds like an awful lot, but it's actually pretty easy to learn if you do the right courses and you pay attention. Alright? Because you can learn the basics of that stuff very easily from most TAFE courses. Alright, all Blue Clovers must have at least one social media account, up to as many as they want to gather the required information. So you can pretend, if you're a Blue Clover, you can pretend to be 100 different people just to gather all the information you need on that person or the client and the support worker. You're the bridge if you're the Blue Clover. Alright, Blue Clovers must report their security support workers, but are required to go to the local leader if our principles are jeopardized. So if someone jeopardizes our principles, the Blue Clover takes the evidence of the support worker being neglectful to the local leader, and the local leader deals with the support security worker. Treasury, this just basically means when there's 3 of you, you only get 25% of the profit that you make, because 75% of it's got to be pumped back into the business. Once there's more than 3 of you, it changes to you get 75% of the profit distributed amongst the 4 or more members, and 25% of it gets sunk into the company. But the 75% that you lose in the first 3 starting the company is what will get that company up to its 4th person. And once it hits that 4th person, then it drops to 25% of the profit being taken, and the rest of the profit is evenly distributed among members within the local office. Local officers must report to regional office for leadership and reports, and then there's just key roles in that: local leader, treasurer, bushman, Blue Clover, security support worker. This explains the squads and tactics and stuff, but you can read the document to get all that. It's not really important. Psychostigmata. Now this, I haven't fully finished this bit, alright? This is still a work in progress, very much a work in progress, but it's basically all the psychoses people are going into now today, I designate as psychostigmata, because they go into an external reality, and when they are completely within that external reality, they are the main thing in that reality. They believe they are the chosen one. They were selected by God to do what they are doing, because it's their external reality. But of course, being at that point, you lose focus of other people's external realities, and even the socially accepted reality we have fictionally put on display today. Everyone, what they need to do is integrate into halfway between psychostigmata and halfway between logic and philosophy. So they learn lessons from their psychostigmata. Like an example is, a lot of people with psychostigmata think that a lot of people, a large amount of citizens, are going to suddenly show up and see them and greet them as if they were the one, the chosen one. But realistically, that doesn't happen. And when that doesn't happen, you need to learn a lesson from that. You can't just, next time they say they're coming, say, well, I'm going to stay up all night because they're coming. They said they would. No, you learnt first time. They aren't coming. So make sure you learn from this, or you'll permeate. Now, these X's down here are how a psychosis permeates. As a regular person, you start with 1X. This is halfway through psychosis. This is full-blown psychosis. Then, once you get out of full-blown, you go back to normal. But now it's 2 X's instead of 1. And then there should be 3, and then it all goes down until eventually you are stuck, completely trapped in your own external reality, where there pretty much is no help for you except for permanent treatment, because you're so in your own external reality that you can't really fathom other people's realities, because you're so in depth in your psychosis. You've become it basically. Alright, that's psychostigmata. Now we'll go on. Theories. This is a bit strange, but we'll get into it. Now, the invention of the computer chip, we look at it as something relatively, it was a big step, but we don't see it as big as what it actually was, because there were humans and chimpanzees, right? We split there, but then we invented the computer. Now, as a credit to Sheldon from fucking Big Bang Theory, we call it Homo novus, is what we are now, but we also create AI. Now, AI can go into an android, or it can go into a robot. Or you could mix robot and Homo novus to get a cyborg. But when Homo novus evolves, I don't know what it'll be called. But that's the invention of the computer and how it has affected the evolutionary path of the human race. Universal evolution, this is what I've gotten from dreams about the end of the universe, the birth of the universe, and the existence of the universe, and how it's all in an infinite loop, and how I know what the ultimate weapon in the universe is. I can't tell you because as soon as someone starts working on it, it will be invented and it will destroy everything before time is ready. Once people know how to make or what the best weapon is, then they'll start trying to make it. There's extremists, like I said, they'll start trying to make it. So once it's made, that's it for the entire universe. It's gone. But because of this, what happens here, there's a binary system in our universe now that's either has or will. The blue sun in that binary system has exploded into supernova, created a porthole, and the red sun has been sucked into another place in space. Space is infinite. It's a giant sandbox. So it went from over here with all the universe to way over here without any stars or anything, just darkness around it, right? But then when it died and screamed, the cymatic frequencies of it is what created the Big Bang in all that darkness. So that has to happen for the next universe to be born, and then the ultimate weapon is created that destroys and wipes out the last universe, which means the next universe will have to be built, which destroys that universe. So it's an infinite loop we're stuck on. You've probably lived this life you're living right now a billion times, for all we know. Like, we don't know how many universes there's been before us or after us, or we don't know. This could be the first time we've ever experienced this. This could be the millionth time. Like, we don't know until we know, you know? You know? Bizarre and taboo. Love this. Because people cringe at this stuff. Over the 3 years that I'm PM, or actually Violet Captain, we will attempt genetic engineering and clone of my Herald. I'll pick the Herald. If I can't pick a Herald, it'll be me. We will keep all progress public once we understand it. That's important. Once we understand it. Because if we don't understand it and we make it public, we can create weapons accidentally. So once we understand it, we can make it public. Alright? We are to use logistics to mainstream every science laboratory into doing research on this topic. Genetic engineering and cloning. For 3 years. Just straight, every scientist in Australia researching those 3 topics. Or those 2 topics. My Herald, or me, has agreed to 1 million deaths as we begin to experiment. Each failed project will be euthanized before awakening, if possible. If not, and I'm awake, shoot me in the head, put me out of my misery, bring me back when you think I'm done. Like a bun in the oven. One of the 3 wishes you can get can be clone insurance, which is actually 2 wishes it counts as. And every week you are to go to a special clinic, take a fresh sample of DNA and any recorded messages. If you die, you will be brought back and shown the recordings. Sort of like 41st Dates with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. In the end, he ends up showing her, like, she wakes up and she's forgotten everything again, and he has a video that explains how they got married and how they're up in Antarctica and they're hanging with the penguins and the walruses and that. And it's just a beautiful way, like, to see how cloning could be, that we just wake up and we don't understand. It's within our genetic structure because it's been imprinted into our genetic code, all that information, but we don't actually know anything until we start to understand stuff and come into our childlike reality and then go into our adult-like reality. Alright? Hyper-focus on renewable energy. We should have no-fly zones all over the country with balloons going up into the sky. And on that balloon should be solar panels with a wire coming down. We should have tidal propellants, so they're based on tidal waves and shit, like, not tidal waves, but the tide pumps it's like one of those giant fans that produces electricity. It's one of them, but it's a turbine for underwater, and the tides power it. And there's so many other things we can do for renewable energy. Like, every home should have a solar panel and a battery. Like, every home should be self-sufficient. Garden, everything. Alright. Once my Herald and I are brought back, we will focus on genetically engineering 144,000 people, and they will be known as the Immortals. Now, they're not actually immortals. Alright? They are living a very, 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 very long bloody life. But they're not immortal. They will die one day. But their life, by its age extent compared to a regular person, will classify them as basically immortal. Each immortal is to be allocated a 12-member group. Each group is then given an area to watch over. So, say here in Melbourne, or what I call Rouge now, 12 of these immortals, genetically engineered, with superpowers and that, would be watching over the city. And say a plane's crashing, they'll, jump up and catch it, or say someone goes on a mass shooting, then they'll step in front of the bullets and stop the person. So it's like creating superheroes basically, but with genetic engineering and selective process on DNA structuring, the original DNA structuring. We shall use all our mining equipment to stop mining. Mining's a bad idea, guys. Bad idea. We're taking the First Nations people who have never ceded sovereignty, so they're still kings and queens on this country, and we're taking all their land, all the resources that make their land beautiful, out from underneath their land and turning it all into a wasteless desert. We should stop mining. And then we dig big channels into the centre of Australia, like I showed you in that map, that leads to a very large lake, where we will excavate as water passing over the soil is nature's desalinization plant. It's true. As salt water passes over Earth, it eventually desalinizes and becomes fresh water. So these channels would be fresh water. It would be fresh water in the lake, in the land. Alright? This would drastically increase habitability. All the reoffenders and pedophiles' graves should be dug around the lake, with each grave having a tree planted. So we are promoting habitability. School of Immortals, here we go. Not living forever, just living for a very, very, very long time. To apply to join the School of Immortals, you need to send the school a piece of art you have done, as well as a brief reason as to why you want to join the school. Each year there will be 144 students, and the school will run for 1,000 years. The 144 will be broken down into groups of 12, and 12 must use unit cohesion to practice perform. So they're also entertainers. They can make bands and paintings and all kinds of things. These immortal people, they're going to be trained in this immortal school. But in November, the student body gets the month off to travel somewhere in Australia and perform for the civilians. So in November, the 144 people who are being taught at the School of Immortals will be sent to different parts of Australia to put on shows with local artists and that. So there's like a massive Woodstock festival, but in every corner of every state of the country. Alright. 11th day of the 11th month at the 11th hour, we take 1 minute of silence for our fallen soldiers, diggers. God rest in peace, diggers. Then at 11:02, it's drinking time, so no school that day. Gotta honour the fallen, mate. They fucking died for us. The first 12 immortals will be teachers in this new school. However, they make their own schedule and the students have to adhere to it. That's important, because it's a fluid structure. It's not a stable structure, it's a fluid structure, this whole immortal school. Now, a teacher can teach anything to students, as there should be an amphitheatre for the groups of 12 to practice their performance. So say 4 of them can harmonise real well, 2 of them can play the drums, and 3 of them can play guitar, and then however many's left can sing. You just whack them all together and just make magic happen. You know what I mean? And they'll have that natural unit cohesion when they're brought back to work together like that, and the comfort of knowing each other to utilise unit cohesion so they can work together better and give off better performances. They can even split up into like 4 different bands of 3 people, the 12 people, but they still remain a group. Alright. If a student is removed from enrolment, there is no substitution, but the year following there will have to be 1 extra student. That's just to make up for the 144,000. It's fractal mass, I think, or sacred geometry, one of the two, but 12 and all these numbers play an important role. In the application letter, the potential student should send in, they should include a list of genetic traits they would like with their immortality, and if they pass the year, they will be given the option to euthanize and awaken their new self, or wait till death of natural causes and awaken their new self. But you've got to pass the year. Students are allowed to go home for December as long as they return before the 1st of January or graduation day. So 1st of January is graduation day, so they've got to be here. They can go home for Christmas, but Boxing Day, they've pretty much got to start heading back here because graduation day is 1st of January. 2nd of January, the new list of students is announced. Then within a week, by our hand or where they have moved to in their dormitories, then start school on the 10th of January. Alright? This is a picture I drew of the School of Immortals. So there's the canteen, there's the flats for all the students, there's the showers and bathroom. These are all the classrooms. There's also one up here you can't see that's more like a field. There's a field down here. These are car parks. This is for like staff and that, basically, like security and stuff. There's a security fence around it. There's I want this black granite. I want that to be my grave. I want that black granite raven right there to have my quote on it about death. And in here is the amphitheater. So this is where all the magic happens. That's where I want to teach my class. Alright, so that's the School of Immortals. The bizarre and taboo. And we are done, ladies and gentlemen. We are done. And if you swallowed all that and you managed to comprehend some of it, then please join me in support. I can't stress enough, the reason we can't sleep at night and the reason we're so sleepy during the day is because we know we can be doing more, but we aren't. So we feel guilt, but it's on a subconscious level, so we aren't aware of it unless we're made aware of it. So join me. Come to Melbourne. Get a swag, set up in the park. You can use my facilities. You can cook food here. You don't need much money. I'll friggin' help you out with every cent I've got. But we need to gather, form a new government, and then start growing. And every person who comes in, their opinion and inspiration and perception needs to be integrated into this document, as it has been. Because every part of this document has been criticised by someone and changed to be better. So criticism's one of the best things I can get, because it teaches me what I did wrong. If I get nothing, no criticism or support, then what's the point of it at all? What's the point of you even existing? Do you want to live in this shite world where shite happens to shite people and arseholes cause it? You don't want to live like that, mate. You don't want to be a fucking sterilised, willing slave. You don't want that shit, mate. You want to be free in your community. Like how they said in The World's End. Good movie, watch it, it's underrated. We want to be free to do what we want to do. And what do you want to do? Whatever the fuck we want to. Alright, thank you for listening. I'm sorry it took so long, but I hope you're more enlightened now. And please, please, please contact me. Everyone. All of you, contact me. If you've listened this far, contact me, please. Good or bad from you will help me progress into my future. Thank you so much, and good day.